Okay. Well, good afternoon and welcome to CRM Road to Sales. My name is Stuart Charman and I'm a CRM Strategic Consultant at Pentana Solutions. I have 17 years experience within the automotive industry, primarily as a group IT and CRM manager with two large dealership groups across Australia, but then moved to Pentana Solutions about 12 months ago. With that passion of CRM, I moved to Pentana Solutions to take that passion to the dealers and be able to speak to the dealers within Australia, New Zealand and the Asian hub, and hopefully be able to instill some of my knowledge and my CRM passion to those dealers. I've had 230 meetings with our dealers over those last 12 months and have been able to assist with many fantastic CRM initiatives that at the end make our dealers more money, and that's what we're here for. I'll leave, as Rick said as well, I'll leave the questions till the end so that we can get through all the slides today, but hopefully there'll be a little bit of time before the next presentation. So within the automotive industry, there are many factors and products that encompass CRM, but we here at Pentana Solutions believe the association of the customer to the dealership through CRM has to be explicitly connected to the DMS. Without that connection to the DMS, successful CRM implementation is very hard to achieve. Within the last 5 years, I've seen a few or many CRM failures, and most of them are due to that lack of connection back to the DMS, and therefore unmanageable, uncontrollable databases have made that very hard to achieve. So I challenge you to think about your CRM that you're doing now and see what you've attempted, what you've tried, what you haven't tried, and maybe see which ones work, which ones haven't. And hopefully today I'll be able to give you a few of those that have worked in my business. So today, we want you to follow our CRM principles and our ideas to be able to make more money. We want to today let you walk away out of here today to look at designing principles around a CRM strategy, to understand that CRM is a business process, to know some tools and be aware of some tools that you can use for CRM, and along the way, hopefully take some ideas out with you so that you can take back to your business and help with your CRM strategy. I'll ask you to think about some more questions. As I said before, how many inquiries are being recorded in your business? Do you know how many inquiries are coming inside your business? Dealers have seen an increase of 40% of capture just with the use of a lead management tool or a lead management system. Do you know how many appointments that your sales consultants are setting? Do you know how many customers are actually receiving your electronic digital marketing or your EDMs? And how many click-throughs those EDMs achieve as well? How many SMSs have you sent from the sales department or the service department, and did they reach the customer? And what are your 2015 CRM priorities? So thinking about those questions, if you're not sure of some answers on those, then listen to the next 50 minutes or so, and we will be able to give you some answers. So CRM itself has to be a strategy and not just a project. On average, 70% of the buyer's experience is based on how that customer feel they've been treated with you and your business. And 28% of new vehicle sales are from repeat customers, and we know that they represent the most profitable. So there needs to be a focus on those repeat customers. And through your CRM strategy, that is able to be done. Through our consulting practices, dealers have been able to implement and design CRM best practices. But there's also many reasons why CRM won't work. There's so many time again, that a dealer has the best interests and the best, intentions, I should say, on how to implement CRM, but it just doesn't work. The main thing I can stress today is management buy-in. It has to start from the top. Without management buy-in and without them understanding that process and that goal, CRM is very hard to be successful. Other things like CRM utilisation, so that the systems or the processes that you do put in place need to be utilised. They need to be followed. They can't be, people can't be off on the side doing other things when you've got a strict CRM process. That CRM data needs to be looked at, make sure that it's correct, make sure that it's connected back to your DMS. Those CRM reports need to be monitored. Training, we spoke about training in that last session, sounded pretty important, but training is important across all businesses, and CRM is no different. Training not only at implementation stage, but also at ongoing as well. I think Andrew talked about that process of having trainers within their business that they're constantly training, and that's their role. So ongoing training is just as important as implementation training. And how do you where are the failures to target your marketing efforts, and where can you change that? And there's many business leaders that believe that CRM is purely an IT function. We need to just put in an IT system and it'll just work. But that does explain a lot of the failures, and as I said before, it's a business process, it's not just a system. These 6-month CRM implementation best practice does show a little bit about what we look at when we start to implement a CRM strategy within a business. It takes a lot of that management buy-in, as I said, understanding the process, the users understanding the system and the process itself. As, again, the panel said, it's no good just having a user being able to click buttons because they know they've got to click buttons. What they need to do is understand the process of why they're clicking the buttons and where that's going to take them and what that is actually going to do for them. Training, as I said, and then that underlying IT system or IT platforms. So can you justify a CRM strategy? Well, this is why you really need to look at it. A sample of eight of our dealers, and a mixture of multi-franchise locations, multi makes, as well as single site, single franchise locations. We've been able to have a look at the difference when implementing a CRM strategy for what customers are buying. Customers that are purchasing more than one vehicle. So you can see from 2000 to 2011, before a CRM strategy, on average, these dealers were able to achieve 4% of the customers purchasing more than one vehicle, and only about 1% of customers purchasing more than two. But then from year 2012 to now, once that CRM strategy has been put in place, those dealers have been able to move to 18% of customers purchasing more than one vehicle and 6% of customers purchasing more than two vehicles. So that shows straight away the justification of looking at CRM. So we know the standard, 22% of leads turn into sales. But what about if all your leads aren't being recorded? How do we know where they go? Where does that number sit when not all leads are being recorded? But if they are being recorded through lead management and prospect marketing, where do the other 78% go that don't go to leads? So lead management is the primary focus initially on being able to manage that lead from creation to conversion. And to convert more of those leads into opportunities, we need to be able to market to those prospects slightly different than we do market to existing customers. Yes, there's an automated process, a system can be used to market to prospect customers on a defined timeline depending on what they're looking at. But there's also some other ways we can do that too. So some CRM initiatives around looking at that lead management and that prospect marketing. And we need to increase that 22% conversion rate, as I said before, and think about talking to prospects in a different way, or how do we look at prospects as rather than just someone coming in, inquiring about a vehicle, and then not going any further. So some quick ideas there. Prospects that are interested in finance, let's talk to them a little bit differently. So the sales consultant will still be involved in that process, but the finance manager can now be involved as well, talking to that customer or that prospect while they're still a prospect, and talk about the finance and try and get the customer understanding how much they're able to borrow or their repayments, I should say, and then they can then work out the vehicle that they can purchase from that way. Prospects that have decided to wait So a prospect has said to a sales consultant, look, I'm not ready just at this point in time. I'm looking for the new model, or I'm going to wait for the new model. We need to talk to them, and we need to have them on a different set of follow-up procedures, or a different way to handle those prospects. So at what stage do we need to talk to those customers again when that new model's about to come out? So we like to have a set format to say, well, when this customer or when this prospect goes to deciding to wait, we need to be able to put them into what we call a certain campaign to make sure that they're then talked to just before that new model is coming in. What about the prospects that have identified as being hot prospects? They're ready to go right now. So putting in place a different way to talk to those customers, whether the sales consultant speaking to them the next day and then maybe day 3, but then on day 4, if we still can't get them across, having the sales manager involved. These are all ways that we can talk to prospects slightly differently depending on where they're sitting in the prospect and the lead management side. And what about the customers that service with you that don't purchase from you? So we know they come into the service, we know that they're happy with the business on the service level, but when we start prospecting to them for sales, they don't tend to buy from us. So we need to look at those and treat them again slightly different. So lead management then turns into follow-up. So we've got a lead management system in place, and now we need to follow up those customers. And how do we follow up those customers? Well, follow-up's so important because, as you can see here, that 48% of buyers spend up to 3 months evaluating, shopping those products before they actually purchase. So there's plenty of time for them to make a decision. So there's also plenty of time for you to be able to follow them up. There's also plenty of time for them to go somewhere else. So those follow-up strategies need to be considered. As I said before, there's some different ways of follow-up. Hot prospects now, ready to go. We need to speak to them day 1, day 2, and then maybe day 3 the sales manager gets involved, and then we leave them again for a day, and then we come back on the day 5. Those medium prospects, so we've judged them, but without a system to be able to differentiate between different leads, how are you going to know which ones are hot, which ones are medium, and which ones are long-term? So through a CRM system or a CRM procedure, you're able to evaluate the customer, evaluate the prospect, and be able to put them in those categories and then follow them up differently. What about a long-term prospect? Someone who's definitely still in the market, but they know it's going to take a little while. They're waiting for the end of the year or their end of financial year. They're waiting for some changes in their own business or their own personal lives. We need to make sure that we speak to them the next day to make sure that they've got all the information they require, and then obviously stress to them that we're going to leave them alone for a little bit, but we're not going to wait for them to come back to us because that may never happen. So that follow-up for a long-term prospect, we may speak to them again in 2 months' time, and then we speak to them every 2 weeks or every month after that. And then specific F&I follow-up, as I stated before. An F&I manager can be involved in the follow-up. So have your system tell the F&I manager when F&I is interested, or the prospect is interested in F&I, and that alerts the finance manager to follow them up as well on an F&I basis. But the main priority there needs to be is a process for these follow-up, and on a daily level, not just at a different prospect level as well. We know every staff member within the business will have priorities and different lists of tasks they have to complete every day, whether they're in service, whether they're in sales, or whether they're in parts or IT. But the sales consultants, when looking at follow-up, need to have a direct process and a direct priority process for follow-up so that we know that they're doing exactly what they need to do every single time. So, for instance, priority 1 needs to be appointment confirmations for that next day or the day after, so that we know that we're making sure that those customers who set an appointment potentially weeks ago are definitely going to come back in. Then we reschedule the missed appointments. Again, appointments, making sure that, as we know from that first graph, the more appointments we get in, the more we can increase that 22% closing ratio. Then we talk to the unsold prospect and those follow-up calls and try and set an appointment. So the first 3 are very geared around appointment setting and making sure we're bringing customers back into the business. Priority 4 should be looking at CSI phone calls. So those deliveries that have been made over the last few days, have a CSI phone call to get in front of them or to get with that customer again before the manufacturer does. So we make sure that on day 2 or day 3 after that delivery, we contact the customer, see how the delivery process was, and see if there's anything that needed to be changed. See if there was anything that they weren't happy with, and then hopefully be able to answer those questions or fix those problems before the manufacturer asks them, keeping our CSI up. Then the retention calls, so your standard calls that the system will generate for you to make sure that you're constantly in contact with the customers, and that's what CRM's about, making sure that we speak to the customers constantly. So things like anniversaries are the vehicles, birthdays are the customers, lease renewals, warranty expiries, things like that. So a CRM system will be able to give you those dates because, again, it's connected back to your DMS, so those dates can come through and tell you when they're ready. And then standard prospecting calls that could be done from a prospecting marketing piece or a list that maybe your CRM consultant has designed for you in order to maybe look at special offers or events that the companies or the business is about to do. And then those hot prospects, we know how to follow them up, but what about those ones that are marked to lost or the prospects that the sales consultant said they're nowhere, no need to speak to them anymore? Do you know what you're doing with those? Do you know what happens to those prospects that are marked to lost or deemed nowhere? Well, a lost prospect review is something you really need to think about. One of the currently most successful and generating the most revenue with just by a simple process is the lost prospect review. So a sales consultant marks a prospect to lost, says they're nowhere. What happens to them? Where do they go? If you don't have a system, you'll never know where they are. If they're only on a piece of paper that the sales consultant screws up and throws in the bin, we're never going to be able to have that information again. But you need to have think about how do we talk to those prospects that are marked to lost. Should a manager get involved? Should someone else in the dealership speak to them? Should another sales consultant speak to that person potentially? Maybe lost campaigns going to a business development centre or a BDC consultant. And they can look at talking to customers when they're deemed lost for a particular reason, that they have the training to talk to that customer about that and potentially turn that customer around. A very successful campaign at the moment in regards to lost for one of our dealers had 5 turnaround deals from people that were marked to lost within 30 days just by the used car manager being involved an hour later than the prospect being marked to lost. So sales consultant says, yes, this prospect's nowhere, I'm going to mark them to lost, I'm not going to talk to them anymore. And within 1 hour that sales manager is notified, and it's his job to make sure that before the end of the day he's involved in that process and try and bring those customers and turn them around and bring them back. And this customer was able to do that for 5 deals when they first started doing that within a month for $2,000 revenue per vehicle. A quote from one of our dealers who have really concentrated on lost campaigns lately. In the past 3 months, we've closed 37 deals to customers marked as lost by our salespeople. This represents a huge portion of our business that we may never have received without having Dealer Socket to support our prospecting needs. So pretty interesting how so many people could be marked to lost yet turned around and actually do a deal with. So we talk about in CRM and how CRM can help service retention. So you can see the service retention rates there. Service retention obviously has to be a business guiding principle and a very key part of the service department, but CRM practices and CRM principles will assist with that service retention. Again, talking about the BDC, how can the BDC help the service department? Well, the service department can be helped by that BDC by taking booking calls away or taking informational calls away from that frontline service team. And let the service advisor or the service department deal with the customers face-to-face when they're in the business with their vehicle. That way increasing that customer experience. So now the BDC are taking phone calls, they're taking bookings, setting bookings, they're professional, they're fast, they know how to deal with a phone call and be efficient on a phone call. And the frontline staff aren't sitting in front of a customer trying to close an RO, trying to invoice, trying to keep the customer happy and also on the phone trying to do a booking at the same time. So I'm sure we've all seen that. So what they can do is now really make sure that customer experience when they are in that service department is second to none, because they're the only one they're concentrating on while they're sitting in front of them. So service maintenance notices, we know we can set within our CRM strategy, so that's pretty easy. So with a CRM strategy and a CRM system in place, we can set those service maintenance notices and those reminders. But what about service EDMs to help with service retention? Service EDMs will be able to help with those in many different ways. So when we're looking at an EDM, and I know it's an easy word to throw around, but a lot of the time it's very geared around the sales department. But service EDMs can obviously be focused on how to bring customers back into the service department as well. So a great example of that recently was an EDM that one of our customers sent to only 72 customers. But those 72 customers were customers that had filled out a survey and said that they would not come back to their business. So there were 72 customers said that we're not coming back, and through a management change, the management said, well, that's not good enough. We want to make sure those customers do come back. So we're going to send them an introduction to the new management team, and we're also going to give them a 10% discount, which is nothing huge, but it's obviously something there to incentivise them. And it was sent to 72 customers, and within that first month, 21 of those customers had come back and completed ROs for $16,000 worth of revenue, which is, again, not huge, but the main thing that I saw was the 29% pullback of those customers that said they wouldn't come back again. So through a CRM initiative, we were able to identify those people that had filled that survey in and said that they weren't coming back, and targeted them with something that was relevant to them. Another great example was for a brake kit EDM. A customer had overstocked. I don't know if it was a parts problem or not, but it overstocked on a brake kit brake kits for a particular model. So they said, okay, well let's grab all our customers that haven't been in for a service or haven't had that brake kit done recently within a period of time, and just send some information about this brake kit, a special, to those customers. So it only went to 1,160 customers, but 35 of those customers came back, completed that brake kit RO or that brake kit job, and for $38,000 worth of revenue, I think the service department were pretty happy with that. They were able to get rid of 35 more of those brake kits, make some money along the way, all for a $500 outlay. So again, this particular customer don't have a marketing company, but they were able to design a marketing piece or design a service EDM for about $500 outside, easily send that through their CRM system, which took nothing because they know how to do that. And they were able to get those 35 of those brake kits fixed and out of the way straight away. Another current example of making and saving money through some service EDMs and some integrated dealer socket DMS side of things was one of our service departments. They wrote, and I'll quote on this one as well, using dealer socket CRM integrated with Ironet, our new marketing manager sent out an introductory email regarding our new budget service location. The introductory email was only offering a wheel alignment at a special price of $49, but within the first 30 minutes of that email being sent out, we received 7 bookings. So they saw that as a great way of bringing customers straight into the business, but it also saved them money because they also had an outside company trying to make bookings and trying to get phone calls, which they had to then pay commission on. So it was something they could do within their CRM system, fast, easily, to make sure that they entice those customers coming back rather than using that outside company. So thinking about some service retention initiatives and how we can build some of those CRM ideas out of our system, out of our CRM system using your DMS. What about customers that declined a recommendation 3 to 6 months ago? Have we thought about talking to those directly? Again, we know that a customer's previous RO had a recommendation on it. We can draw that data and say, give me all those people that have these particular recommendations that haven't come back and had the next RO done. And we'd be able to target those people and say, okay, come back in, or bring that list out and say, okay, what's the recommendations that make us the most money? Or keep the customers the most happy, one way or the other. And let's target those people and bring them back in. or customers that have purchased 3 to 6 months ago and haven't come back in for their complimentary service yet. So let's try and target those. So again, we can, through the system, we can drill down and say we've got all these customers that have purchased vehicles in the last 3 to 6 months, but they haven't come back for their initial complimentary service. And we know how important it is to get them back into the business as quickly as possible. So let's target those people and just get to those, rather than just sending again another service reminder or another mass mail marketing piece to all our customers within the database. Let's target those people to get them back. One I love is the sales customers that were marked to lost, so the sales prospects that were marked to lost. But with a great CRM system, the sales consultant, again, putting more information in, can tell the system that they didn't buy from us, but they did buy the same brand. So the service department can say, okay, now I'd like to speak to that customer because I know you've got our brand, so let's talk to you about coming back from a service. We know the sales department couldn't get you across the line or couldn't successfully win your business, but what about service? We know you've got the same car or same vehicle. And existing service customers that spent more than a certain amount of money on ROs over the last 5 years or 3 years, 2 years, whichever you like. But again, you know those customers are high-paying customers or good customers that are always going to come back. So let's target them and give them something to get them back into the business. And the standard seasonal specials, talking about spring specials or winter specials. But you can see with trying to increase service retention through CRM practices, they have to be connected to the DMS. It shows how important that connection to the DMS is, because without that, the CRM system wouldn't have that service history. So running a CRM system off the side, no connection to the DMS, makes that very, very hard. So moving through to some CRM tools and what we can use to complement our CRM strategy. Things like SMS. SMS allows you to update, reassure and confirm in a quick, easy manner. Enables you to connect to the customer at a discrete level. So if the customer is currently doing something else, trying to ring them is always going to be hard, but sending them an SMS for them to reply with some information makes their life a lot easier. Obviously succinct, we can talk to customers very quickly rather than sending them a whole raft of information. We just want to give them a quick, short, sharp message. So it's very easily done through SMS. We know the cost savings are there, and SMS is a lot cheaper than a phone call. We can increase revenue through SMS, through mass SMS and marketing through SMS. It's a little bit of a hard one. It needs to be thought out properly, maybe in conjunction with an email marketing stream as well, so that maybe an email or an EDM was sent out first to describe a special or to describe about an event coming up. And then again, when the sales consultants are setting appointments, we then send an SMS to the people who haven't set an appointment or haven't contacted us back, so that we just remind them about that potential sale or event coming up on the weekend. And we know that service no-shows have been reduced through products like SMS Link. We know that 40% of service departments have actually decreased those service no-shows by using a product like SMS Link. Talking about SMS campaigns, again, can be quite cheap. One of our customers thought about, okay, how do we directly go to some prospects or some customers that we need to get rid of some of these models at the end of a year. So they thought about a 72-year end-of-year clearance. And they thought, okay, what's the best way to target some people to be interested in that? So through SMS, they were able to target customers that were just looking at that model in that last 12 months that didn't purchase. So again, with that system, filling that system information incorrectly, they were able to see that there was a group of customers, around 600 customers or 600 prospects, that had actually inquired about those vehicles. They sent the SMS blast for $136, and they were able to resulted in 4 deals within those first 2 days, and who knows how many more after that. But the great thing with that SMS, it was going to customers that were actually interested in what they were sending, not just a mass SMS to thousands of people talking about a model run-out clearance sale. So then we move into direct and target marketing through CRM to reach those right customers at the right time. So we know we need to have email etiquette. It's pretty easy to understand, but there's 3 basic rules I'd leave with you today. Make sure you're concise and to the point in the email. Make it personal so that it's going to the customer, to their name, so Dear Stuart or Dear Mr. Charman, rather than just sending it to Dear Valued Customer. Something little, something small, but it does make a difference. And then make sure you read the email before you send it. So make sure there's no spelling mistakes. So 3 pretty basic rules on email etiquette. I won't sit on that too much. What I'd like to talk about a little bit more is about how do we increase our open rates, our email open rates. Do you know your open rates when you send an EDM, whether it's through your own systems or through an outside party? So with a CRM system linked to what you're sending, you're able to see those open rates. You're able to see how many customers are opening those emails, and then also be able to see how many of those customers are clicking through. So then you know that the next time when you're looking at a new EDM that you're going to send out, you know what works, what didn't. Otherwise, just keep sending the same message over and over again. You have no idea how many people are opening those emails. It's very hard to understand that maybe those emails aren't getting to the right people or triggering some thought process for them to come back to the business. So some ideas about trying to increase those open rates. Subject line's so important. Unfortunately, the most boring subject lines are actually the most effective. So try and stay away from a real promotion subject line and think about more of an information subject line. Make sure the company name is inbuilt in that subject line too, so that they know it's coming from a business that they want to do business with. The content itself, we've got to try and keep that reasonably simple and have links back to the website. So rather than having too many fancy things going on the email itself, try and keep it reasonably simple, direct with a direct message, but have links back to your website. Those links through areas such as the company's logo, pictures, JPEGs within the email, footers, headers, all great areas to have links back to your website. Talking about the company logo, that is so intrinsically linked back to your business. So you've got to make sure that that's always there and highly visible and easy to see. And make sure that there is always a link back behind that company logo back to your homepage or back to your specials page. You can also use links within the email and have them strategically placed to say, come back here or click here to come back to our specials or to see our specials. We want to make sure that a lot of the information, that the most important information is in the top of the email. Again, the click-through rates will be more successful when we know those first few lines or first paragraph is where the information's coming out and that message is really being sent. Again, as I said before with email etiquette, make sure that it's personally addressed to the customer. Move away from the dear valued customer, dear customer, we value your business, to say dear Stuart, dear Mr. Charman. Make sure that they know it's for them. Then there's a lot less chance of them looking at that as spam. And the last and most important, not only with reading your email, is testing the email. So making sure that you send it to yourself or send it to someone within the business as a test to make sure you can read it on all devices. So many times we've seen where a customer's sent out an EDM or something along those lines and they must have thought, oh, it looked well on my PC, looked great, but when the customer receives it, they can't read it. So make sure it's tested on all devices, PCs, laptops, handheld, phones, any device you can think of. So moving through to some more initiatives for existing customers and how we direct to those customers. Again, as I said before, trying to build lists for customers that are in our business through our CRM for things such as new cars sold but with no aftermarket. So again, with a CRM system drilling down on the information that the sales consultants are putting into the system, we can see that certain cars were sold but aftermarket wasn't included. So we need to get to those people either before the delivery or maybe there's some products we can sell after the delivery but soon after. Again, no point sending a mass email marketing piece to everyone trying to bring them back on a particular aftermarket when you've got people that are buying the cars now that might need it right now, and you can be more directed. Certain model promotions. My favourite is sending a tradesman, commercial ute sort of interest, sending him the two-door hatchback information. So making sure your certain model promotion is directed to the right customer and directed to the right people looking for those particular vehicles. We want your trade. So you know the customers are coming in. We've already taken that information down, but we may not have been successful in the sales of getting that person in to buy a new vehicle, but we've got the information about their trade. So then let's drill down that information, because they're the trades we want, they're the vehicles that we need at this point in time, and go back to them and say, we know you have a particular vehicle, and the system can do all that for you if you've got the right CRM system. And we say, we want that to come bring that back in, and we'll have a chat about that particular vehicle, rather than trying to sell them a new one. But we know if we buy that one from them, they have to buy another vehicle. Birthday month specials, something that a lot of, particularly in the sales department, don't particularly like, but in general they do work well. Customers do like to get a phone call from anyone and say happy birthday. There'll be a percentage of customers that, think it's a little bit, don't really need that. I don't really want to hear from my dealership about when it's my birthday. But majority customers, the information that we receive back, the customers love it. And how easy is it? We've got that information in our system. We know when it is their birthday, so let's either ring them up or let's send them something to say happy birthday. But what about the dealership birthday? Making sure that the customer's aware that it's the dealership's birthday. Have you been in business for 50 or in the area for 50 years or in business for 100 years like Danny spoke about? Make sure the customers are aware of that. Newly purchased owner events. So again, speaking again before about the service, trying to get customers into the service department who haven't come back for their free or their complimentary service yet. Great ideas on speaking to those customers and try and bring them back in for some kind of an event, something that will interest them. Move it away from an actual sales event, but bringing them back into the business to reintroduce them to the service department. So maybe it's your service department might not be on site, so introducing them to the service department during that handover process might not be easily done. So bring them back in and say, come and join us at our service department for a special night or a special VIP night. Customer loyalty and CRM go hand in hand. But without the information of understanding the customer, how can you know what they're worth to you? Whether it be how many vehicles they've purchased, or whether it be how much money they've spent in service or sales or combined. Those customer loyalty ideas, you can really be very specific. We can get to the right people about the certain things. So we want to target customers that have purchased over 5 vehicles and have spent over a certain amount of money. We know that we can speak to those in a direct manner and be able to tell them exactly what we're trying to tell them. And one of the great ones that I love using at the moment is the staff change notifications. How many times do a customer comes back into the dealership and the sales consultant has now moved on? And they ask for that sales consultant and they've got no idea. Oh, no, I've never heard of him. I'm not sure who you're talking about. Obviously, the customer's experience then starts to fade. So let's tell the customer that, hey, the sales consultant that you've been dealing with over the last few years has now decided to move on, but here's introducing your new sales consultant. They will be able to give you a contact call, or you can contact them and then update any information that might need it. So a great way to reconnect back to that customer as well. It's a non-sales event. It's not trying to sell them anything. It's just, again, reminding them about your business. The biggest thing I see in CRM is what you want to do is the customer needs to be sitting wherever they are, and when they want to buy a vehicle, they want to buy it from you. So how do they know about you? It's because you've kept in contact with them. So when they see an advertisement about a vehicle and it's not a dealership branded advertisement, the first thing they think about that particular car is your dealership. That's how CRM works. So we spoke about a BDC before. A CRM VDC, could we consider something like that? Could we do that in-house, or could we consider outsourcing that? Could outsource that to the CRM contact centre. But on average, this is what a dealer would need to do in order to be able to complete some of those CRM initiatives. 700 calls a month, 180 surveys, and update the database multiple times. One customer who implemented the CRMVDC was a pure focus on taking away the internet and phone leads away from the sales department. So they would qualify them, they would then set appointments, with the goal to have that closing ratio move to 12% within the first 12 months and then 15% within the first 18 months. By putting the BDC consultants in place and training them on how to take phone calls and how to talk to the customer over the phone and how to reply quickly to internet leads, they were able to increase those closing ratios when the customers come back into the business to 15% within the first 6 months. So it really shows how the BDC who talk to people on the phone, and that's their job, they understand how to do that, are able to set more appointments for the sales consultants, and then that leaves the sales consultants to deal with selling a vehicle, because that's what they're good at rather than taking phone calls. What about the BDC? Again, as I say, taking the service calls away from the service advisors and making sure they're taking bookings. Again, they're trained in taking bookings quick, easily. Or they could be shared. So they could a BDC could do some sales calls and some service calls. So again, a little bit more efficiency across the board. Whenever each department's busy at each times of the day, they could be looking at that. But it all costs money. It all takes time to set up. You've got to have the right people. Do you have the right people? Do you know whether you could house them in your dealership? Do you have the space? Do you have the IT infrastructure, the phone systems? But if not, consider the outsourcing. Our CRM contact centre. They're running a couple of service calls, service campaigns at this point in time. One of them being a retentions and one of them being the lapse calls for a few of our customers. With the retention calls, they get to speak to 76% of those people and make 10% of those turn into bookings. But what they also are able to do is update the customer data information within the system, within that DMS. The lapse calls, they speak to 70% of those lapsed customers and make 5% of bookings. But they're able to update 30% of those lapsed customers' details within the DMS. So where does that go to? Well, that means next time you're speaking to them and next time you're having a direct target marketing campaign, you know you've got their customer information correct. Another current tool for CRM is the mobile lead management. One of the top frustrations in the car buying process is the time spent on that process. Customers sitting there waiting for the sales consultant to do everything they need to do. It's been proven that there's a 33% increase in being able to capture that lead just by using a mobile device. With the mobile device, they can capture the information fast, set follow-up quickly, set appointments with the customer there and then, to be able to speed up that process and then be able to push it across to their DMS and hopefully do the deal. But the main advantage of that mobile app I see is to be able to communicate fast and effectively with the customer, so wherever that sales consultant is. One particular customer has decided to roll out the mobile, not only the mobile app, but also mobile devices to all his sales consultants, purely on the fact that they get great results from it. One particular example, which I know about, is about a couple trying to do a deal on a late Saturday afternoon, not quite sure, need a little bit of time. So the salesperson says, okay, well, the customer's decided to leave. So they wave goodbye. 6 o'clock, customer leaves the dealership and the sales consultant go back to their desk. 8:30 Monday morning, that customer's back in the dealership signing the deal. And the first thing they said was, the reason I came back was your fast and effective and efficient way of getting back to me, following me up. So that follow-up really helped them, and they said, we could not believe how quickly you were able to follow up and how quickly you were able to give us the information that we required. Because as I got in the car and we drove away, my wife checked her email on her phone, and it was already there. They just couldn't understand how quick that was. But little did they know the sales consultant had waved goodbye in the driveway and sent all that information as he was walking back to his desk. So quickly, easily, sat back down, he was able to pack up and go home, and he's already sent that information. That's what I see CRM is. Your CRM and direct marketing will only be as effective as your data allows it. So data integrity is pretty important. We see some recent CRM initiatives that our consultants have been involved with have great results purely on that data integrity. And again, that connection back to the DMS. So an end of financial year EDM sent in June resulted in 210 deals within the 6 weeks of that June, start of July period. You might say, oh, that's pretty good. It's an end of financial year. But what they did is they directed their EDM to only active customers. So again, rather than spreading it out across the whole database that they've ever spoken to before and potentially not speaking to the right customer at the right time, they spoke to the active customers. And within that 6 weeks resulted in 210 of those coming back and doing a deal. Another one where direct marketing and also being able to look at data integrity and make sure we get to the right people at the right time was a commercial ute EDM. Again, like I said before, rather than sending out commercial information to customers looking at a two-door hatchback, the consultant was able to look at the system and say, okay, give me all the customers that are around about that commercial level and who have actually looked at this particular vehicle. They enrolled only 344 customers, but directed this special straight to them and received 11 sales from those 344 within the first 2 days. Gross profit over $25,000. But just being able to just say, well, how do we get rid of some of these utes? We're overstocked, we need to get rid of them. So again, with that data integrity and making sure we still have that data or that customer's information, they were able to get to those customers quickly. So there's obviously been talk over many years about industry saying that the mailing addresses of customers held in our dealership DMSs, up to 15% of those are wrong, and how much does it cost to do a direct mail piece that doesn't actually get to someone and we get the return email. Not only increasing that with products like dynamic matching and being able to have that data integrity, we're able to track our customers' behaviours, track their attitudes, their needs, their wants. Sometimes they want this, sometimes they want that, and be able to really look at that whole sales life cycle. And that's where the CRM tools and having the data in place helps with that. So again, some more CRM initiatives that I'd like to leave with you today. When talking about there's a slow month in sales, so this is a few ideas that we've implemented in many places that have been successful, but it gives you an idea to have a think about on those months where it's a slow sales month. So these aren't real sales events by any means. They're not promotions of a particular weekend. But they're great initiatives to be able to turn those slow months into generating dollars. So a service not sold. So we speak to those customers that continually service with us, but we haven't sold them a vehicle. And again, like I said before, look at trying to buy their vehicle back. We know what it is. We know the history. It might be what the used car department need right now. So we get them back in the business and try and buy their vehicle and then have hopefully a 3-win operation where the sales department wins because they sell a new vehicle, the customer wins because they drive away in a new vehicle, and the used car department win because they have now a car on their lot ready to sell to another customer. Some unsold follow-up ideas. We see an increase of customers coming back into the business by having someone else make a call. So again, we've got as I spoke earlier today, we've got a lot of unsold follow-up ideas and how do we speak to hot prospects, how do we speak to medium prospects. But think about on a slow month where maybe we'll get someone else involved. Maybe it's not a salesperson, maybe it's someone within the business that has the time to be able to speak to these customers just to try and get them back into the business. We can see an increase of 33% of those prospects returning because of that, just because they get a chance to speak to somebody else. Because they may not have understood what the sales consultant was saying, didn't want to be hassled by the sales consultant, or just didn't like them. or the sales consultant couldn't quite portray the message that customer wanted to hear that somebody else could. Again, the happy birthday call, great way to reconnect with the customer. It's a non-sales call, it's a happy birthday, Mr. Customer. Hopefully everything's going well as well. It may generate another conversation, but it's just a standard hello. It's that reconnection back to the dealership, to the customer. And then the lost service customers, the customers that haven't yet serviced. Rather than trying to send them a reminder, send them a special to get back in, why not speak to them on a survey type level and ask them why they haven't come back into the business? So again, it's not trying to say, well, we're going to offer you this. Just give us some information of why you haven't come back. And then from there we can be armed, and then maybe we can direct something back to the people that have answered in one way and other people that have answered in another. And then those lost sales prospects. As I said before, one of the greatest ways to be able to really bring customers back into the business is concentrating on those customers that we can't sell to as well. Making sure that what we do with those lost prospects is something that's valid and it's real, not just leave them and let them go. Again, remember those 5 turnaround deals within the first month, purely just by the used car sales manager getting involved an hour after after the sales consultant has said that they're lost. And I go back to that quote, the 3 months, 37 deals of customers that were previously marked to loss by their sales consultants. So 12 a month this business was able to do purely because their sales consultants were just marking people to lost. So through those CRM principles, a few of these initiatives that I've talked about today, and also the CRM tools, you will be able to implement a CRM strategy that will make you more money. So now you'll be asking yourself, how do I do this? What do I do? The people I need, the processes I need, what products, who do I speak to? Well, come and speak to me after today, and I'll be able to give you some more information. Or if there's some documentation on the tables that you need some more information.